6:01. Call this meeting to order. I need to read the Zoom policy guidelines. This meeting is being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted to the town's website, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. So for this meeting, please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference accordingly. Please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and that take care not to screen share your computer. So I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comments, questions, or notions. So I'd like to just start off, and I'll just do roll call so that we know that we all hear each other. Beth?
Here.
Andy?
Here.
And Andy?
Here.
Lisa?
Here.
John?
Here.
Doug?
Here.
Prabhu?
I'm here.
Great. And anybody else I'm missing? Okay, so can Ron and Ken and Mark, can you all hear me too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Great. All right. So Lisa, you sent out the minutes last 2 weeks ago, or whatever, how long ago we met. Everybody have a chance to review those? Okay. So vote to approve those, vote by roll call. Beth?
I'd be happy to make a motion that we approve the minutes from December 6th.
Whatever. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, go for it.
So move. I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, great. Vote by roll call. Beth?
Aye.
Andy Jefferson?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Prabhu?
Present.
Okay.
I was not there at the last meeting.
Okay. Okay. Bills, I'll go straight to you, Andy Deschênes.
All right, thanks. I said in my email, we have 3 to look at and 1 to follow up on. So there's 2 from CDW. These are both for hardware and software switches. I don't know how these didn't come through before, but here we are. So these are all relatively straightforward, right? So the first one is for $1,499.99.
I make a
You wanna-
motion. Oh, sorry.
Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we pay CDW government for $1,499.99.
Second, somebody want a second?
I'll second.
Great. Vote by roll call. Beth?
Aye.
Andy Jefferson?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
And Prabhu?
Aye.
Great. Thank you.
All right, great, thanks. Second one is also CDW government. This is also for a switch and also the software that drives them. Again, I had mentioned in my email, this doesn't change the overall cost of the project. These were already included in the IT portion of what we were tracking. So this one is for $4,799.94.
I make a motion, we pay CDW government for $4,799.94.
Julie seconds.
Vote by roll call. Beth,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Doug,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Prabhu,
Aye.
Mary. I declare the motion carried. Next.
Next one is for DA Sullivan. This is for November, December for $675.
I make a motion that we pay DA Sullivan $675 for December 2021 bill.
Julie second.
Vote by roll call. Beth,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Doug,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Prabhu.
Aye, and I had one question there.
Great. Mary, I. Questions, Prabhu?
Yeah, does this, the 699 or whatever was the last one, does that also not alter the overall cost of the project? I guess it's more for Andy.
Correct. These are all within the budget we are already tracking. Yep.
Thanks, Andy.
Great. I declare the motion carried. So you don't
Yeah.
have a question, Andy, on the other? You don't want to bring up the other one or not right now?
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess I can. So DRA sent us an invoice for $1,348 even. I just had a question. Their original proposal had one overall number. The latest invoice, if I looked at it as being billed out 100%, was a different number. It's actually currently, it's not creating a deficit situation. It's fine. So we're actually tracking more than what their invoices are showing. So anyways, it's, I think it'll be easy to figure out. I just got the accounting numbers from the town today too. So just reconciling all those things, I'll be able to talk to Ken and get it all figured out, and we should be fine. It's not, so it's fine. Again, the cost of the project isn't going to change. It's just making sure we've got the right numbers at the end of the day.
Okay, great. So that's it.
That is it.
Okay. All righty. Mark, do you have any updates for us?
Yeah, so last month wasn't the most productive month. Well, I shouldn't say, big picture is productive. The last 2 weeks haven't been very productive as far as punch list and so forth. We're, again, big picture, we're in a good space where we're maybe 12 to 15 items left for punch list. Nobody's really contesting any of those items. They're being chipped away. CTA knocked off a few of them before the holidays, and then really the last 2 weeks have been kind of quiet, but that was to be expected. The biggest issue hanging over everything is not those punch list items. It's this controls related issue that we spoke a little bit about last month, where the engineer, an RFI was submitted, the engineer responded and said, these certain items of work are yet to be done. The control subcontractor objected to that. They submitted a proposal for $100,000. I raised my hand and said, how can Beth and the staff be happy with the operation of the library from a temperature standpoint and fresh air standpoint? Everybody's happy, yet the engineer thinks we need $100,000 more worth of work, which seems like a huge disconnect. And so we're trying to find some middle ground. Nobody really wants a fight. Talk to Ron, who's going to speak with his engineers. And again, it's just a tough time of year to get a hold of anybody, let alone have them respond to something. But my question to them was, of the 7 or 8 items that the engineer are saying are contractually owed, how many of those will actually affect the end user's experience of the building, as far as fresh air and so forth? And my thinking was that if it's additional graphics on the computer so that when the technician connects to everything, he might have more to look at, which might be, specified. It might be something that'd be nice to have, but whether it's there or not doesn't affect staff or users of the library and so forth, has no really bearing on that. So I asked with Ron and the engineer if they could discern how many of those items would really affect the end user, and can we focus on those? If the engineer thinks those would be a overall betterment to the user experience, then let's get those done, and then maybe these other issues we can negotiate away. So I don't think anybody really wants a fight, especially if people are happy with the way the building operates. So a pay application was just submitted today from CTA. They're late again because they're on vacation the last week and a half. But we're going to be at the point where I'm hesitant to approve anything on behalf of the town if this potential $100,000 issue is hanging out over there. So we don't want to, for the sake of argument, if there's only a dozen punch list items and they're each worth $500, well, I don't want to reduce the pay application to $6,000 total if there's a $100,000 worst case scenario item out there. So that's the biggest thing we need to get resolved. There have been a couple emails back and forth over the holiday break from Beth and staff pointing out things that either fell off the punch list or were never on the punch list to begin with. And we're going to have those, truthfully, after everybody goes away, something's going to come up a couple months from now. But those can be addressed as a warranty item and not necessarily a punch list item that would indicate something wasn't done correctly and so forth. And even if that happens, CTA is still kind of on the hook, so to speak, for the next year. So we're just trying to plug through. We've got a job meeting this Wednesday, and we're just trying to plug through everything. But that's honestly the biggest thing out there is that controls related item.
Does anybody have any questions on that? Mark, if I could just get a quick recap of what the controls issue was overall, what was it they were?
So the mechanical subcontractor had a question about the operation of the system and submitted that request for information to the engineer. And the engineer came back with basically a to-do list that said, here's my answer. These items are all owed by contract. None of this is extra. And the mechanical contractor, through his control sub, took issue with that. They thought a lot of this is extra. And what it comes down to is when you buy the mechanical equipment, it comes prepackaged with certain controls. And the engineer is asking to basically supplement those controls with on-site additions to those controls. And the mechanical contractor is saying that's they think it's additional work. And the engineer's firm in their position, the mechanical contractor's firm in their position, they're gearing up for a fight, asking for bonding company information and the whole bit. And so at this stage, I don't want to speak on behalf of the town, but I don't think anybody's really looking to have a prolonged legal fight. It'd be one thing if people were complaining about different rooms in the building and there was a physical sense that the building doesn't feel right, it's not operating correctly, but that doesn't exist. Everybody's happy with the way it works. So I'm of the mindset that there's got to be a solution here somewhere.
Okay, but typically when you have the controls package, it could be okay right now, but you have it for the changing of seasons and you have
Correct.
it for a lot of various reasons why. So I would think that is there a controls specification, and it would just
There
say
is.
that they own it?
There is, and that's what the engineer is referencing. And certainly we'd want to go through a complete heating and cooling cycle. That we don't want to make a broad-based assumption based on the first week of January that everything is, because maybe in the first week of July, it's not going to be running the way you want it to run.
Exactly.
And so that's what I'm trying to get from the engineer. Which of these items will affect the user experience versus will affect the tech's experience when they log on remotely or or something like that. And just
Well,
because I don't have a sense of that.
I do have an update. Beth, do you
Okay.
want to jump in first
Jump-
or?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ron.
I have been going back and forth with the engineer. These are control points within the management system. What to address Mark's question of what is necessary for running the building. What he's doing is working with the lead consultant to confirm what is needed to obtain and maintain lead certification for the building. That's why he's hasn't given an answer yet, because he's working with the lead consultant to determine if by saying, okay, we won't do this, this, or this, we don't end up in a situation where the building isn't lead compliant or
Exactly.
LEED certified. So that's where he's being cautious, and they're working back and forth. For example, one of the commissioning issues was the blowout of the building, the running of the HVAC system to eliminate any possible VOCs or whatever. The engineer, the sub could not give us a report because these control points aren't in place, which is why they ended up having to go to air quality testing instead. So what we're trying to determine is this a long-term issue if those control points aren't in place? So that's where I just talked to him tonight before this meeting again, and he's waiting to hear back from the lead consultant and expects to hear back from her tomorrow morning. So hopefully we'll have some direction from him before this Wednesday's construction meeting.
Right.
Beth, did you have a comment or want to jump in?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that my outstanding issues are, we actually don't have any ownership yet of this system. So while I can go in very easily by IP address and make a specific room a little hotter or colder outside of the 70 to 74 degree parameter, I can't permanently set it at anything except for that. And that may be lead related and it may not be. We still have a panel that fried at the end of August that I thought the town was going to pursue replacing, that allows for fresh intake. So to my knowledge, that still isn't working. And when I got my training July 15th up on the roof, they showed me all the filters and told me they had to be changed quarterly. And I want to know who's responsible for that at this point. Should I have contracted with Renard to be servicing this, or is this still all scope of construction? Because I think we did also hear from the tech that the filters are dirty.
So if I can jump in, two things. One, on the fried control panel, that has been reordered by CTA. So it's not the town, but CTA is going to address that. There's no issue with cost or anything like that. And we can follow that up with Paul on Wednesday. Regarding the filters, once the project reaches substantial completion and the insurance turns over from CTA to the town, so physically CTA is still on site doing punch lists and so forth, technically contractually, it's now the town's building. So from a preventive maintenance standpoint, if you don't have a service contractor set up, you should get somebody set up. So that for things like filters and so forth, because the worst case you wouldn't want, say in March, when the weather turns and starts to get warm and you have an issue and it turns out something isn't running and it turns out it's not running because the filter's clogged. You don't want to void a warranty because we don't have anybody looking at the filters every 6 months or four months or whatever it needs to be.
But do we have final completion of this project? Like, is it turned over? So if not, wouldn't it still be the responsibility of the contractors until you have that date? And then what about a year warranty? They own it for a year.
Substantial, the warranty starts with substantial completion. So that was
July 1st.
second week of July or July 1st. Yeah. So for a year, they're responsible if we find anything that's not, working correctly or was done incorrectly, whatever, they're on the hook for that.
Okay.
But again, once the town takes kind of ownership of the project, you can have like this panel that fried, it's more of a warranty item. And if it takes 6 months for it to come in and they swap it out, so CTA is still involved in the project, but it's not their building anymore. It's the town's building. So, so those control or service contracts should be in effect soon.
I will get on that. That was not made clear to me. Thank you.
Lisa?
I have two questions. Can I just follow up? Did you say that the project was turned over to the town July 1st, 2021? Okay, just wanted to make sure that was true. And then the 12 to 15 items left on the punch list, is there a timeline for getting those done?
That's all that we're talking about now, is trying to get that timeline. And, some of it involves what we talked about last week, like light fixtures with an ADA sticker, or fixing that front paddle in the front vestibule. So things have to be ordered, or things have to be fabricated. So basically all the easy stuff has already happened, like touch up of paint, where somebody can just go fix something and they're done. Most of what's left, if not everything that's left, somebody has to make something or order something, or we have to wait for something to come in. So it's hard to, believe me, CTA wants to be done with the project more than anybody. But some of these things, we just have to wait for them to come in, and then they'll wrap it up.
Then I have one more question about the money. Last month, I think it was like $45,000 in the black. Where are we at?
So Andy can speak to this, but nothing really has changed in a broad sense. Nothing's changed from last month to this month.
Yep, that's exactly right. So yeah, Lisa, nothing, none of those, the invoices we looked at tonight, nothing has changed the overall cost of the project. So we're at the same point we were before. Actually, I'll send out an updated version of that cost tracking cost report. I'll send that out tomorrow just so everybody can see it. But yeah, the bottom line hasn't changed.
And I just had one more question about the controls. Andy DeShane, do you have any thoughts about that? Like, it just doesn't seem right to me that they wouldn't own the controls package. I feel like we're going to be giving in to get some things when we should be getting an entire controls package.
Yeah, it's a little funny, right? Because I'm not sure if there's I can't quite tell if there's an actual problem. I think that's what Mark's getting to. Like,
Right.
if the building is working correctly, then there can't possibly be a reason why this is a thing. If it's related to lead and it's clear in the specs, then I don't know, then it seems to me like it's owned. But then it comes down to, at a certain point, what do you want to look at legal action, or how much is the lead piece of this worth? I mean, we've spent a lot of time and money pursuing this avenue. It would be terrible to lose it at the very end. So yeah, it seems to me like a review of the specs would tell us. I mean, it sounds like some people have already decided that it's very clear to some people and not at all. Right.
Yeah,
So.
it's clear to both camps. And I should say, Veterans, who's the mechanical contractor, and through their subcontractor, they weren't arguing that there's a control package that's required. They feel they've already provided that. And what the engineer is asking for is additional control points to prepackaged mechanical equipment. And they think what is being requested goes over and above what was specified. And of course, the engineer thinks exactly the opposite. So
Did they not do a submittal on the controls?
they did. And it went back and forth and back and forth. And it was only toward the very end of the project, when we were trying to get finalization of everything, where there seemed to be an impasse between the engineer and Veterans, the control sub, where they formally sent in an RFI. And it was the formal response to that said, good question, it's these 10 things and you own them. And it's been since that point that we've been going back and forth.
And do you know if the points are needed for leads, or did we exceed our numbers?
That's what's being verified. That's what
Okay.
the engineer is working out with the lead consultant.
Okay. Anybody else have questions? Okay. Ron and Ken?
Sorry, I couldn't get my cursor to move to unmute my mic. So the items I had, we just talked about the HVAC control points. One of the other items was the humidifier for the historic room. I had the engineer do a search of different manufacturers to find out if there's a commercial unit, humidifier unit that is smaller in capacity to what he specified, and he could not find one. If you go smaller, you go to a residential unit, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just that a residential unit, you would probably have to maintain it more in terms of filling the water tank more often. And depending on the model you buy, the type you buy, whether or not it can be tied back to the building control system. So that's why he specified the unit he did. That's the smallest commercial grade unit. And to go to something smaller would be a residential unit. So that's a decision that has to be made. I would like to review the change order that came through with Mark and possibly Andy. I mean, this unit was part of the base contract. This isn't something that was added later.
Right.
I'm granted it moved, the location changed a couple of times during construction, getting things to fit. But I'm kind of shocked that it's what, like a $19,000 change order?
Yeah, it was a big change or something. that we
Yeah,
already sold.
for something that's part of the base contract. And I think we need to look at that and find out if we decide to continue with this unit. Why is it such a big change order?
Well, I think their CTA's argument is going to be if it was installed in the location that it was originally designed, there wouldn't be a change order. But as you mentioned, it's moved a couple times, and now for mostly aesthetic and spatial reasons and functional reasons, we've found this home above a ceiling, which affects a bunch of trades, but still, it's a big price tag for something that's already owed. I agree with you 100%.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not connected.
No.
Yeah, so it's installed. The unit is on the wall in the administrative office, but it's not connected to the ductwork. So they own that work. I mean, moving it from point A to point B shouldn't be a $20,000 change. But I think that's something we need to discuss further.
Yeah.
Unless the owners want to go with a smaller residential unit. I see vigorous head shaking.
Honestly, we've been living with it where it is. So at this point, we've been living with it where it is in the office.
Right.
So I would say connect it, get it working, and just love the idea of moving it.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't want to spend $20,000 to move it.
Right.
Yeah. Fine. Let's get it connected, because we have historic antique materials that need the temperature control and humidity moved into those two rooms. And I wasn't aware that it actually was not functioning. So let's hook it up, please.
Right, and it's a commercial building. I think we should keep it commercial.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll discuss that with Paul on Wednesday afternoon and get that to move forward. The other item I had, I needed feedback from the committee is the gate at the bottom of the stairs, the main stair. We had been asked to design a different gate, something that's lighter, that didn't need the wheel. We provided that design. We have a price for it from CTA. Has the committee decided which gate, the one that was part of the base contract, or do you want to move forward with the redesign? Has a decision been reached on that?
Can you Tell us again the price for the redesign.
Oh, that's the one I don't remember off the top of my head.
I'll try to look it up.
Yeah, can you look it up? I don't have access to
Yeah.
it right now.
In the last meeting minutes, it was a $10,700. I'm sorry, $10,700, the gate right out
Yep.
by the stairs, PCO 115.
That's the one. So you already own a gate and it's been fabricated. It just needs to be installed. If you choose to go with this redesign, it would be an additional $10,000.
Does everybody know what Ron's talking about? Does
are
everybody
we
remember
just-
from the last one? Go ahead,
Why
John.
do, sorry, I was muted. Everybody appreciates that. Why did we decide we wanted to maybe change I know the wheel was kind of a issue, but what was the tipping point on, because I'm totally blank. Maybe I missed the meeting because I couldn't do remote. Maybe that's what it was.
I think the reason this conversation started is kind of like the reason the humidifier started. The conversation started from a valid point. Somebody, the door showed up, the gate showed up, and it's heavy and it's got substance. And the thought was this weight with a wheel at the bottom, opening and closing a number of times. Over time, you're going to see this like a wear mark on the tile. And can we avoid that somehow with going to a lighter gate? So Ron looked at a couple iterations and we ended up with one that everybody was happy with. It's been quoted on and it costs $10,000. So I think that's kind of like the humidifier. This isn't a great spot for the humidifier. Can we put it somewhere else? So we did that, and then we ended up with a $20,000 change that tonight said it was good conversation to have, but not worth pursuing. I would advocate this is similar to that. It was a good discussion, valid. I don't know if it's worth $10,000, and so you might move on, or like if it's important, then I'd accept it. But it's $10,774.
Is the new gate or the redesigned gate going to look somewhat similar or almost exactly the same, but maybe in aluminum or some lighter material?
No, the new gate is the one that I had showed in design subcommittee meetings with the polymer panels.
Okay.
The gate that was designed is a solid wood gate.
Okay.
That was the base contract.
And
To make it lighter, we put in polymer panels to minimize the weight, the amount of wood that was causing the weight question.
And then we kind of picked a design that we were to put on those panels, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Short-term memory here. Sorry.
And
Very
the
short.
the issue became complicated because it's not just a gate or velvet rope that you can put at the bottom of the stairs. It's actually, if you get trapped upstairs inadvertently and you come down, so there's a crash bar on the gate, so you have to have a place to mount that crash bar, and it just turned into this big. Can we end up going down this rabbit hole to find a design that would work with the hardware and that wouldn't weigh a lot? And this is where we ended up with. Sorry, Lisa, you had your hand up.
Lisa?
Yeah, so is it really going to ruin the floor? Because $10,000 doesn't seem like a lot right now. If 5 years from now, we have to spend $50,000 to rip up the floor. So I guess I don't know that. And I'm asking people to make a prediction. I'm sorry.
And I was actually going to ask the opposite question. If it destroys the floor and it only costs $1,000 to fix the floor, well, then we might get 100 years of floors for 10 grand.
Yeah, I don't.
That's very wishful thinking, Doug.
You might get 5 years.
I think this one started with me. The gate that came in weighs, I don't know, it's a few
lot.
hundred pounds. It took a couple of us to pick up half of it. So there's gonna be a lot of weight on that wheel, regardless of what it's made out of. So I think there's no question that even if it was only opened and closed a couple times a week, you're gonna see a mark on the floor. in pretty short order, and that floor is pretty spectacular. So I don't know. To me, I mean, I don't love the price, but I feel like what was built is not appropriate given the weight. And so I think this is worth the money. Just my opinion. I started this problem, so.
Yeah.
Is there any way to find a wheel that's, rather than a black rubber wheel, a clear rubber wheel that maybe won't make a mark? And then buy 3 of them, so when they wear out or break, we've got several backups.
Well, it's a small wheel that's integral, it's built into the bottom of the door. It's recessed into the bottom of the door. I don't know exactly what the material is. I believe it's a relatively hard polymer. So I think the concern isn't that it's going to leave, the wheel isn't going to leave a mark. I think Andy's concern is that dirt and grit over time with this wheel running over it is going to mar the surface of the flooring, not the wheel itself.
Okay.
So regardless of what wheel we use, it may or may not mar the floor.
What are your thoughts? Do you think, I mean, as the architect, as the designer, do you think it's a better solution to have a lighter door, less likely to have a problem down the road? Or do you think it's worth taking the chance?
Ken, do you have any thoughts on this? Not to
Like
not
at
to
the
dodge
unmute button here, I will say.
not to dodge the bullet.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If you change the door, make it lighter, it's going to have a much lesser impact on the floor. Similarly, with a lighter door, you might be able to use more of a rubber tire, which has a bit more cushioning to it as well. Than that could be face mounted. So yeah, I mean, you won't see the wear.
Do both doors require a wheel?
But the doors, because it's an unusual width, it's like a 5-foot wide door, something in that realm.
Yeah.
So it creates an awful lot of force on the hinges, at least on the top hinge, because the door wants to do sort of twist over. So the wheel is meant to keep the end of the door up, so it doesn't have much force on the hinges.
My first reaction when I heard the door, the lighter one, was, why isn't there a wheel under there? Because I thought it would sag. And then I heard that it was because there could be the wear mark. So
Right.
I'm very up in the, like, I don't know which way to go. However, if we go with the original door, that heavy door, maybe there's a way to retrofit and do a curved design to, cut out and put in a different tile, you know what I mean? A different tile that would have that arc. Like someone at one point said something about putting a metal thing, but yeah, some kind of,
Right.
I don't know if that's a possible, but it's something that could be done down the road. Definitely could be done if that wear starts showing up, you can, and it would be, not exactly, except I don't know if it goes out, does it go out into the actual granite, the old granite? Or is
The
it
marble?
all?
No,
I don't think so.
no,
No.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because I had the same concern because in the redesign, we were asked to design it without a wheel.
I am
And
concerned about it sagging,
That's-
and the difficulty and the fact that, in that case of emergency, when they do have to slam against that door, use the panic hardware, whatever, you want it to be a substantial piece, I think.
And so,
I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know
certainly
which way to
the
go.
lighter the door, the less the wear on the tile will be as well.
Yeah.
So you can still have the wheel, but I don't think it's going to create the abrasiveness that the heavy door will.
Yeah,
Doug?
But the architects, you designed the door based on the weight that it was going to be. So did you just not anticipate that it would need the wheel and mark the floor, or was this just a surprise when we actually saw how heavy the door was going to be? I'm kind of confused. I mean, you designed it. We knew that the floor was
Well, we
tile.
designed it with a different kind of wheel. I mean, we've minimized the wheel under the thickness of the door. The original wheel was going to be a large wheel. So from aesthetics, there was discussion about changing that.
Okay.
But
And can you remind me, is this like a barn door
reality,
slides in
when-
and out, or does it swing back
No,
and forth?
Swing.
It's a
It
swing.
swings
one.
180
it swings
degrees.
180 degrees.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so
Um,
Doug, there was no issue with the design. It was when, to Andy's point, when the door actually was delivered to the site and it was unpackaged and people looked at it and said, whoo, this is a big door and it weighs a lot. And then that just started everybody thinking, is this going to have any long-term implications on the wear of the floor and so forth? And that's how we ended up where we are.
Beth, what do you think? Is this something, because you're going to be, when we kick this down, if we kick it down the road, you're kind of going to be the one holding the bag. If we say, what do you
So
think?
My biggest concern is staff moving it easily to open and close it, and staff getting hurt because it's a big, heavy door. So we definitely want a wheel. I like the idea of let's try it and put in a track if we need to put in a track so it will glide easily.
So, I mean, let me make sure I understood that correctly. Use the original door with the wheel, but see if we can put an inset into the flooring to deal with the possible abrasion.
If needed. I mean,
Right.
because if it makes a mark or it's heavy and it drags really quickly, and then the mark that it's made would be replaced by a track or a guide that it would have to be inset into the floor, wouldn't even be like, then it wouldn't be a permanent mark. It would just be until we could put that guide in for it to glide along.
Okay. So
That's my
basically install it the way it was, the original door, the way it was originally designed, and see what comes down the road.
I second that. And we'll call it Andy's door, as he said no.
You put a little plaque on it.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Okay, so
Andy, I
everybody's-
think you'd have to pay for it to be called Andy's door.
Like $10,000.
Yeah, there could be a donor opportunity, Andy.
I'm thinking of a number.
Yeah.
Looks like the other Andy has his hand up.
Sure, hey, Andy. Go ahead.
Two points. I thought we discussed this at the last meeting, and Andy implied that that might be cost prohibitive to put the track in the floor. We may even end up paying more to redo that tile work than to replace the door itself.
I think that concern was raised that are we being short-sighted by not accepting it now, and some fix down the line might be more than the cost of the door now, but I think that was discussed, but it wasn't, that's why Ron brought it up tonight. It wasn't finalized. It was just discussed.
Yeah, there was no direction on how to move forward.
Right.
There's also no guarantee that the lighter door won't mar the floor either, correct?
True. I don't know the weight difference between the two doors because the other one hasn't been fabricated. Now, I imagine it's lighter because there are panels, but those polymer panels still have weight to them.
And there's no way we could anchor this from the top with some sort of like wire or something that attached to the wall, more like a barn door.
No, not that I can think of. Can you, Ken? I can't think
Yeah,
of a way.
I can think of it.
I mean, we can think of it, but I don't think it would look appropriate. And, you know, my experience with that kind of bracing has been that over time that cable starts to stretch and you have to put a turnbuckle in it, and you know, it just gets ugly very quickly.
Doug?
I would just, I mean, I think I agree with Andy in that a track in the floor, while solves that problem, is aesthetics, I think is going to look worse. I think it'd be worth knowing how much the new door design weighs, because if it's, you know, half the weight or a quarter of the weight, then we know it's much less likely to mar it. But if it's 80%, I don't know. I don't think we have any good idea if this new design is not going to cause a mark either, based on what I just heard.
Yeah, and
I
I agree with Julie that, you know, the new one might be not weigh enough and cause problems and not be flimsy, but, you know,
Right.
just not have the longevity of the big one. So,
Well-
yeah, if we could get more information.
We can certainly ask Paul to get a weight estimate from the fabricator.
You know,
Okay.
one thing also to keep in mind is that that's porcelain tile. It's a color through also, Andy. It's not like it's just the surface. So I imagine in my mind, I imagine if it gets a track, it'll be like a light, right? You're thinking of like that light line going through it, but I don't know how much it really will when they're the color through those porcelain tiles. You know, it's not glazed. It's not a VCT, you
Right.
know.
You know, I could be wrong. It happens almost daily.
No. And I'm not, I'm just trying to explore different ideas. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think
I can see that could happen down the road for sure.
Lisa?
Yeah.
So I was thinking about making a motion just to see what we would all say, because Andy hasn't really steered us wrong. I know he's laughing saying that he
No, that's
has
true.
been wrong, but he hasn't really steered us
No.
wrong. And I feel like we have $45,000 left. You know, we're in the black. And this to me seems like a problem that we can solve now, and that we know we have the money for, versus 4 years from now, no one's going to want to spend any more money on this library for the rest of the time they've lived in Grafton. So I'm hesitant to pass on this, but I do see the value in finding how much it will weigh. But I'm close to making a motion to do this.
But it's hard to make the motion without knowing, you know, what we're getting versus what we even have to begin with. So I'm kind of confused. I'm on the fence. I hear what you're saying. We should just do it to do it, but still it is $10,000. I don't even know if something like this could be fabricated after the contractors are gone through somebody else. It could be less. I don't know. I don't know if we're getting an escalated price. It's the end of the project. I don't know.
So for the next meeting, what would help us make that decision?
estimated weight.
Yeah, I
weight,
think the
okay.
only thing,
Right.
the only piece of information you don't have is how much is the new door going to weigh in comparison to the existing door. To Doug's point, if it weighs 85% of what was designed originally, then what are you paying an extra 10,000 for? If
Okay,
it's
thank you.
25%, then yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right,
right.
that sounds great.
So I have a note in my notebook here to review this with Paul and have them estimate the weight. Do we know the actual weight of the door that's been fabricated, aside from that it took 4 guys to lift it? Does anybody know that offhand?
I think the fabricator is the same, the millwork shop, so they could tell us. They're going to estimate what they haven't made. They can give us an estimate of what they already did make.
Okay, that's why I asked. I will ask them to get us the weight for both options.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Okay.
Um,
Do you have any more? Oh,
No,
Lisa?
Yeah, I wanted to get some resolution on the countertops. Have they been all set? Have they been moved?
that is in progress. We submitted the drawings for addressing the ADA issues with all the countertops, the sinks, the countertops at the computer stations, the office, et cetera. In doing so, we found that in our shop drawings, we had corrected some of the sink heights. And we brought that to the attention of contractor, and they are contesting that they have a different set of approved shop drawings. So I am now I've been going through what revisions may have been made, the communications, what was emailed back and forth, what was submitted. So I'm trying to find out, trying to resolve what few items may have been an error by the mill worker as opposed to what was in our drawings. It has not been abandoned. It is just like everything else, trying to get it resolved and get accountability from the appropriate party.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Was my next item that I was going to mention. The only other items I have are what Mark has already said, that we're all working towards wrapping up loose ends, punch list items, things that may be outstanding, and working hard to get your building finished and get it completely turned over.
Great.
Beth has her hand up.
Hey, Beth.
Beth always has her hand up. I'm looking for a resolution on the Mass Historic Commission's requirement. They signed off on allowing us to have our front door facing the common open, and what we had to do in return was provide some historical record in a permanent display on each floor. And I don't know whose responsibility that was. So I need somebody to let me know who is supposed to do it and how it's getting paid for, because it was supposed to be original scope of the project. We talked about an app, we talked about display.
I remember, yeah.
Yeah,
We have all the content. I mean, I took all the photographs of everything and organized them, and I have them coded on, keyed into plans and elevations. So all the content is there.
yeah, I don't think it's something library staff can put together. We would need to hire somebody to make an app or something, or mount things in frames. Like, it's just not something we can do on site. You can talk about it in construction meeting, but it needs to get resolved. And so do the doors that close off the presentation area in community room A and B. I do have a proposal for the makerspace, but it looks like shutters, wooden shutters, not something clear glass to go in that space. So those are all.
No,
okay.
those, I understand what you're saying. What I proposed for both areas, the presentation area of the main program room and the makerspace, is that since we had last discussed about, instead of having barn door type of sliders that go on the face of the wall, we talked about having them within the openings.
Yep.
And I found that by doing sliding doors within the openings, even when the doors are open, you end up with a very narrow opening. So I proposed commercial grade hardware for bifold doors. The doors, as far as I know, would be this is what I have to work out with the manufacturer. The doors would be as originally designed, except it would be in 4 leaves as opposed to 2 big leaves.
Okay.
And they would work like a bifold closet door and stack within the opening to the side, giving you the most open space compared to a sliding door. So it's not, I didn't mean to panic you. It's not the louvered residential closet, bifold doors. It's the doors that we originally designed in a different sized panel on a bifold track.
Okay.
So now that you had responded through your email, yes, now I can go back to the manufacturers of the hardware, confirm that it does what we want it to do, and get that to move forward, to get those doors fabricated and installed.
So if it's only a hardware issue, it does not sound like Interiors Committee needs to meet and review it and approve it again? Yes?
I don't think so, because it's basically we had looked at the panel doors that have the polycarbonate inset instead of glass.
Mhm. Okay.
So it's basically the same design. It's just in 4 panels instead of 2 panels for each set of doors.
Great.
You're welcome.
Why didn't the barn door work?
There was an issue with the clearance of the hardware at the primarily at the teen maker space, because there wasn't enough clearance between the head of the hollow metal frame and 2 or 3 concrete beams that are coming across perpendicular to that wall. So we looked at mounting the tracks to the face of the hollow metal frame and going to a different system, a different track. But it's not a good way to install it.
Gotcha. Thanks.
You're welcome. And unless anyone has any other questions, that's all I had.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, John, anything on historic?
The only thing that I had to report, nothing on historic, because I think that we pretty much agreed that we can't move forward with the roof screening at this point in time. We'll circle back to it at some future time. But that I found out some information that we'd had about the clock, and I don't know if it's just some logistical information, that the way the clock numerals and hands were going to be installed, that there were some questions at one of the meetings, and I talked to one of the ladies at the clock company and got the detail, but it seems like that went ahead and is moved forward. Isn't that right, Beth? That everything was okay?
Beth, are you gonna get a clock from the museum
Yes.
on
we're
loan?
Also are probably going to get a Willard clock for the historic reading room. I have a meeting this Thursday at 11 with Bob and Robert to discuss where it could go and what kind of a sign they would want.
That's so awesome.
That's
Yeah,
so
that's
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And they
What
want to do some
kind?
programs.
What kind of a
I don't-
clock?
I don't know. I'm assuming, I believe it's stand up, so grandmother or grandfather, as opposed to a banjo clock you'd have on the wall.
Oh,
Nice.
that's great.
We have a niche where I have a card catalog at the moment that was going to be our seed library. And I think that actually might be the place to put it. They may want to put something around it to block it off a little bit.
Well,
might-
why don't you, I don't think everyone knows what happened so why don't you tell them at the ribbon cutting?
To me at the ribbon cutting, it's at 1 o'clock. Maybe there's more behind it. I know both you and Doug spoke with, I think Bob, but they're very
Yeah.
excited at the idea that they would be able to have one there. And you know what, when we were talking about putting a clock in the new large print and new book room, and we said we heard there was a donor, I said, why don't you reach out to Willard House and see if they'll give us a clock to put in that new room to sort of tie both ends together. So without us even approaching them, the donor ended up funding a Roman numeral clock that'll stand out on the wall. And Willard House said, we have a clock. We'd love to have for you to have a clock. And they want to do something around it too, a lecture series.
That'd be nice. But Robert Cheney
Yeah.
talked to you, or he attended that.
There's Bob and there's Robert, and I'm meeting with both of them. I think it was Bob who came to the ribbon cutting.
It was Bob.
Is he the development person?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to him and then he was asking, he's like, well, what's your foot traffic in here? I'm like, I don't know. You have to talk to Beth.
88 to 115 people a year when there's not a pandemic.
Right. That's
Look at it. It's a lot of eyeballs. And they'll come in and they'll see the weights and measures cabinet too. We had an electrician come in and walk through, and I believe a quote has been given to CPC or Historic District Commission because they offered to pay for some of that electrical work so we can get that cabinet over.
Yeah, there's enough money in the grant to pay for
Yay.
the electrical, so.
It's
we'll
just,
get that
it's a
all-
couple weeks out.
Yeah.
Schedule the work.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks to you and Dana for doing all the legwork on that.
Good job being persistent to get it done.
Mhm.
Teamwork.
And so the ribbon cutting went well?
Yeah. Probably 150 people.
That's good.
Yeah, Grafton Public Schools represented. We had a representative, United States representative talk, as well as 2 local elected officials representing Grafton. All the bags with cupcakes disappeared, and they sold a lot of $25 Lego models of the front of the building, and there's still some available. Their friends sold some other things, so it was good.
That's awesome. That's
Tours.
great.
Really
I
good.
had my Prosecco for lunch and took the afternoon off, and I built Lego in my office.
Are the
Me-
Lego sets an identical or an exact replica of the building? Is it
Not of
custom?
the, not of the whole building, but it's a very close match of the red brick front with a little cupola on top and some we can sell you one, Ron, $25.
Well, I had seen one and I wasn't sure if it was custom made for the building. It was.
Our teen librarian designed it with a Lego building program on that you can download. Yeah, and then she priced out all the parts, got them not direct from Lego, but from discount sellers, and then worked with the friends to package everything up.
No, very nice.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Oh, that's great. That's really good.
Speaking of selling, is there any of the original marble left from the floors?
I think, Andy, you can correct me, but I think way back, we went to, when that question was asked, and because we knew ultimately when the diamond shapes were created, that even if there was a waste factor of 100%, we'd still end up with a lot of tile left. But when the project was bid, that tile, whether they used it or not, was part of the filed bidders package. So they donated back to the library what they needed to, and they kept the rest. What they did with it, I don't know if they threw it away or
Good.
resold it or what.
Because I, from day one, kept saying we should do something with that. And if
But that's the thing, it wasn't like it was the towns and we mistakenly threw away excess tile. It was never the towns. It was always the filed bidders, the tile subcontractors.
that's what I'm saying, though, that was ours and it should have never been theirs. But that's water under the
Yeah.
bridge.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the way it was bid, was it ended up to be their property to remove, so that it wasn't a demolition contractor who would destroy everything. It was a tile subcontractor who would remove it so that we could reuse it. And in the end, we just didn't reuse a lot compared to what was removed. So I mean, I could ask the question of CTA if any of that's kicking around still.
Where is it? Right.
Right.
I would like to know.
Okay.
There's a slab of something that I can't move on the front portico facing the common. It's probably a foot wide and 5 feet tall. And I don't know where it went or what it belongs to. So maybe we can assess that and build it or something outside.
And also the lantern that fell that was on the north
Yeah.
side. Where is that?
I have it somewhere.
So
Haven't found
it's
it yet.
not gone.
I kept it. No, I kept
Okay.
it, and it had some damage because it's lightweight copper. So
Right.
it's just,
And again, CPC could pay
Yeah.
if you don't have money to do restoration on that would be a
yeah,
perfect CPC project.
yeah.
Even the tile, if we could find it, we could find
Okay.
something. or try to.
Okay. I'm about to lose power on my computer, so hopefully we're just about done. Next meeting, I think we already set.
February 7th and then March 7th. Does that sound right? All right, good.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. All right. So I think we're ready
And I'm
to
assuming
adjourn.
that we're gonna still be 100% Zoom, Beth, unless we hear otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what we'll plan for now.
Okay, so I'll just go ahead and post February as Zoom. And if it changes, then we can do it as hybrid.
Correct.
Great.
Doug?
Yeah, I don't know if the whole group is aware, but the dedication plaque had some errors on it, the one that was installed in the building. So there's been some discussions on that. I don't know if there's an update for this group, or should we just continue offline via email?
Yeah, I think offline, we're talking with Paul from CTA. So I don't think any of this was intentional. I think what happened was from the time of the approved submittal, the date changed, from the fall to a date to be determined to December 21. And we went from an approved submittal with a stamp on it from DRA's office to a bunch of kind of different conversations and confirmations and so forth. And CTA was just saying, can somebody tell me what the last, what the wording is going to be? Paul came into the project at the end, he took it and went with it. And unfortunately, some of the information that he had that he moved forward with in good faith wasn't correct. And so we're trying to backtrack and figure out where the wheels fell off. And there's a name that was not updated. There was some wording that wasn't included. So we've got some things to correct. Was that noticed on the day of, did somebody, like the day of the ribbon cutting, unfortunately, was it brought to somebody's attention? Yeah.
Okay, the ribbon cutting.
Okay.
So is this the sign that has the little map of Grafton in the middle? That one.
Yes.
Yes, right when you come in on the left.
Any other comments?
So I make a motion at 7:08 to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
I'll second.
All right. Those in favor, Beth?
Aye.
Andy Jefferson?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Prabhu?
Aye.
Still here? Yep. And Mary, aye. Okay, declare the motion carried. Thank you, everybody.